so complicated, but it is very, very applicable. It is very practical, but it is hard to enforce and obey. You need a higher power for that. Later on, Pastor Peter will talk more about that. One day, a father was walking together with a 6-year-old boy in the park, and the boy looked at the trees, and then looked at the dad, and the boy said, "Dad, ang gaganda naman ng trees. How do you make the trees?" And the father thought about it, and he said, "I don't know." 15 minutes later, the boy looked at the cloud, admired the cloud, looked at the clouds, and looked at the dad, and asked the same question, "Dad, how do you make the clouds?" And the dad thought about it and said, "I don't know." 15 minutes later, it began to rain. Predictably, the boy looked at the rain, looked at the dad, and asked the same question, "Dad, how do you make the rain?" And the dad shrugged his shoulders, shook his head, looked at the son, and said, "Son, I don't know." Kinabahan yung bata. Sabi na, "Dad, kung gagalit sa akin." Sabi na, "Bakit?" "Ang kulit-kulit ko, parang panay ang tanong ko sa iyo." And the father looked at him with gentleness and kindness and love in his eyes and said, "Son, bakit ako magagalit sa iyo? Nagtatanong ka lang naman. Paano ka matututo kung hindi ka nagtatanong?" Wala naman siyang sagot. Well, let me see if you have answers to the following questions I'm going to ask you. We live in an age when there are so many questions to society's prevailing problems. Do you know the answer? Number 1, in the Philippines, teenage pregnancy is now number 2 in Southeast Asia, and it is fast growing. HIV cases are dropping all over Asian countries, including Thailand, and yet ours is on the rise. Teenage smoking is now number 1 throughout Southeast Asia, the Philippines. 3 in 5 Filipino youth as young as 12 are said to be drinking alcoholic beverages. 1 in 4 Filipino adolescents aged 15 to 24 engages in premarital sex. Last year, I gave a total of 336 talks, trainings, and seminars all over the country and some abroad. The one particular engagement I'll never forget is when I spoke in a public school in Pampanga. Anybody from Pampanga here? After I spoke, one lady stood up during Q&A and offered to share her ideas. Sabi na, "Sir, I'd like to share." Sabi ko, "There's a microphone. Please go there." And this lady went up to the microphone and said, "I am a school nurse in our school. This is now my 2nd time to assist the same student in her cesarean delivery at the age of 12. Man, that's the thing that's happening all over the place. Still wonder why I won't give up giving talks in schools. Next, teenage suicide is on the rise. And it's amazing. Just when my daughter went home crying one day, I went to her room and I asked her, "What's the problem?" She said, "My schoolmate just jumped off the building 2 months before he graduated." And I started posting in my Facebook. I talk about suicide, I talk about the value of life, I talk about, if you think nobody loves you, it displays your ignorance about the God who gave His life for you. You know what? I had 2 responses, so long, PM. And that lady says, that young 16-year-old girl said, 17 or 18-year-old, sabi nga, "I couldn't maintain my average in this very exclusive school." I won't mention the name of the school. Pero kulay blue yun. And then she says, "I could not maintain my average." In other words, I've been kicked out. And my parents lambasted me. And then told me that I'm useless. I am not like my ate. For that, you're going to take your own life? And then she says, "It's a good thing I came across your post. I realized that there's someone who loves me." Pornography in America some 10 years ago would start with boys aged 15. Today, their first exposure to porn is age 5. How many among you have daughters? Taas ang kamay.